Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. We've got some breaking news this morning. So the second would-be Trump assassin actually worked with Ukrainian military. He worked with the feds. He had communication with the CIA, and new documents reveal that somebody helped him get so close to the Trump golf course, armed, literally feet away from President-elect Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, as soon as you're in, do me a huge favor, smash that thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, leave me a comment, where are you tuning in from, and please share this with a friend or two to help me get the truth far and wide out there so the American people can see the deep state, what we're going against, and who we're fighting. And before we continue, today's sponsor is Verity Metals. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested in physical, constitutional gold and silver, Verity Metals is the company for you. These are Trump supporters, patriots. They'll give you free silver on your next order. They do 401ks, IRAs, retirement plans, and cash savings. Call or text 480-717-9081. Mention Vlad for the free silver. Let's continue. So this is a massive development. This is all breaking as we speak. There's two parts that I want to show you. First one is this. Another fed up former CIA officer says Ryan Routh was almost certainly speaking with FBI agents before attempted Trump assassination. And there is no way to justify him getting on the golf course with a rifle. On Tuesday, new court documents were released that revealed the would-be Trump assassin Ryan Routh was in talks to purchase a Stinger missile to take out Trump here in the United States. A Stinger missile reportedly costs from $119,000 to $120,000. A Stinger missile costs anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 on the black market. So, where did Ryan Routh get all his funding? The Gateway Pundit reported that the court documents revealed that Routh was communicating with someone he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. The Gateway Pundit questioned at the time, it sounds like Routh was holding talks with a federal operative. And Routh and his associate were talking about assassinating Trump in July 2024 in Pennsylvania. So before he actually wanted to assassinate Trump, he was thinking about doing it in Pennsylvania before the Pennsylvania thing happened. Plus, we know he was unemployed for several years. He had no money in his bank account. So unemployed, no money, hasn't worked for several years, but yet he's trying to buy from the Ukrainian military $120,000 Stingers. Yeah. Thomas Matthew Crooks attempted to assassinate Trump in Pennsylvania on July 13, 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania. Crooks shot Trump in the head before snipers shot him dead. From the DOJ report, it says, this is the DOJ report. Fourth, this court should admit that Routh's 2024 attempt to acquire anti-aircraft weapon as the directive evidence of his assassination attempt. That month, Routh sought to purchase the devices online from an associate Routh believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. The two had discussed the July 2024 attempt to assassinate President Trump that occurred in Pennsylvania, with Routh writing, quote, I wish the encrypted message app before the two began discussing Routh's purchase of a weapon in August. To that end, Routh told his associate to, quote, send me an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade, or Stinger, and I will see what I can do. So someone who claims to have access to Ukrainian military weapons is talking to Routh and talking, they're talking about, man, they wish Crooks actually succeeded in Pennsylvania. They wish, it all worked out. And then he's asking for RPGs that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. but yet he's broke with no money in his bank account. He's broke. He hasn't worked for years. So who was running Ryan Routh? And why was he not arrested in July if he was plotting to kill the former president in Pennsylvania and was attempting to purchase an illegal Stinger missile? Holy smokes. On Tuesday night, this is where it gets interesting, ladies and gentlemen. On Tuesday night, former CIA officer and whistleblower John Kiriakou, I can't say that last name, answered these questions in Jesse Watters' prime time. And it was just as many of us suspected. He says the feds were likely involved with Routh for many months, but they did not stop him from planting himself in the bushes at the Trump Palm Beach course where he waited to kill the president. The FBI needs to come clean. Jesse Watters says, all right, John, let's start with you. When Routh thought he was talking to a Ukrainian arms dealer, the Justice Department says, what do you think it means? And this is where it's very interesting. John, the CIA whistleblower, says that almost always means he was speaking with an FBI agent or with someone acting on behalf of the FBI. But the fact that he still got to the golf course in Florida, even though he was caught, the fact that he got there tells that someone was asleep at the switch. Jesse goes on and says, if he was being monitored by the federal government, why would they let him get right to the hole with a rifle? John responds, there's absolutely no way to justify that. No way at all. If he was deemed to be an actual threat to the president, and clearly he was a threat, a long-term ongoing threat, they should have scooped him up ages ago. It's better to charge someone with conspiracy than to risk him actually carrying out an attack and assassinating the president of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I have more stuff to show you, but what did we just read? What are the new court documents telling us? That the feds were watching him for months. The feds knew that he wants to try to take out Trump. They knew that he's capable. They knew where he was at all times, and they never arrested him. They never stopped him. And with the same phones that the feds were monitoring that he had on him, those same phones were on him when he crawled with a rifle onto Trump's golf course just feet away from President-elect Trump at that time already. So they knew he was there. They knew he was getting ready to shoot at Trump, and they didn't stop it. Yeah. This is on Twitter. Benny Johnson posted this breaking. The DOJ revealed the Trump assassin Ryan Routh tried to buy military weapons from Ukraine to kill Trump, including a rocket launcher. And I like what he says, these last part. Has Ukraine illegally smuggled U.S. weapons to kill other world leaders or state enemies? Most importantly, the Ukrainian government knew about the Trump assassination in advance. Did they warn anyone? This is absolutely massive. I mean, there's a these one world government cabal, right? And they were all working together to go against the will of you and I, the American people and the American voter. What has been discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is shocking. What Trump is doing, what the judges are doing, going against Trump, stopping his orders, stopping him from fulfilling his promises. They are getting in the way of us, we the people, because they don't care about we the people. Now, let's move on. I want to play you this clip. Last night, Trump was speaking at the Republican event. Where was it? Here it is. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is easily one of the funniest and greatest clips you will ever see.
And that's with all of the difficulties and all of the fake investigations and the Adam Shifty Shifts. Can you believe this guy? He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen. and the biggest head, we called him watermelon head. I'd say, how could that big fat face stand on a neck that looked like this finger? How can it? It was the weirdest thing. It's a mystery. Nobody can understand it. But he's one of the most dishonest human beings I've ever seen. And you know how we can allow people like that to run an office is a shame, but we did. He was in charge of the witch hunt. You know, he was in charge of the fake witch hunt with Russia. It was a made-up story. Made up. Think of it. They make up a story. They know it's made up. It's gone on for a year and a half, 2 years. Russia. I knew nothing about it. The only thing I knew was that I taxed the pipeline that I told you about, that I put all sorts of sanctions and everything else. They never had a problem like they had with me. But it was Russia, constant, as a method of, what they did is that was the complaint about why she lost an election, because crooked Hillary was expected to win the election. But that was it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Trump is standing there, right, at the Republican Congressional Committee dinner, and just trolls and absolutely trolls Adam Schiff. But that's not it. Hours before that, he trolls Joe Biden. Listen to this. This is all just from yesterday.
For 4 long years, Joe Biden and congressional Democrats tried to abolish the American coal industry. They did everything in their power while he was awake, which wasn't much, shutting down dozens of coal plants, banning coal leases on federal lands, and putting thousands of coal miners out of work.
Whenever Joe Biden wasn't awake, which wasn't much. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we have the greatest president this country has ever seen. Not only that, we have the funniest president the world has ever seen. For my closing remarks, ladies and gentlemen, the deep state is real. I don't believe the deep state is what some conspiracy theories say, but it's real. It is this bureaucracy of, these friends that win elections for each other, and they're all rich, and they run businesses, and they run social medias, and they run corporations, and they run banks. And then the whole world takes advantage of the United States. Here's a perfect example, ladies and gentlemen, of the world taking advantage of the United States. The world loves tariffs. The world loves tariffs. They just don't like them when America responds with a tariff. Do you know that every single country in the world has had tariffs on the United States for the last 10 years at least? At least. We've had tariffs on absolutely nobody until Trump's first presidency. Zero. Nada. Now everybody's complaining about tariffs, but they never complained about tariffs when they were putting on us. Number 2, and ladies and gentlemen, write this one down. For anybody that says that tariffs collapse economies, ask them, well, if tariffs collapse economies, why is it that the whole world had tariffs on the United States for many years and they liked them? They never removed them. The only time they now are screaming about tariffs is when we're responding with tariffs. But why is it that these now people that are screaming tariffs are going to collapse the world and our economy, they weren't screaming when they were the ones putting tariffs on the United States? The same people that are telling us these tariffs are going to collapse the economy are the same people that told you Joe Biden was doing a great job, Kamala Harris was going to win, and that a man can be a woman. The same people that are telling you they are experts in tariffs are the same people that told you Joe Biden's economy is great. Kamala Harris is going to be an awesome president. She's going to win. There's no way Trump's going to win. And then when you ask them, what is a woman? They do not know. So don't believe them. And for the other countries screaming about tariffs, well, why didn't you scream about tariffs when the tariffs were placed on the United States? There we go. So it's this one world cabal global government that has been working to take down Trump and to go against Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why they don't like him. It's not because of like what he says or what he does 90% of it. No. It's the fact that he wants to bring the money back to America. Even many American businessmen understand they rather have their company out in China. By the way, Trump just hit China. What is it? With 120% tariffs. Breaking: Trump announces immediate tariff increase on China to 125% and grants 90-day tariff reduction for 70 other countries. The countries that called in and said we're gonna play ball, okay, we want to remove our tariffs. Trump said, okay, we're gonna put a 90-day pause. Let's negotiate. China, and here's why Trump is being the hardest with China. China is responsible for COVID. They are responsible for the 2020 election. They are responsible for millions of deaths, tens of millions of deaths across the world. This is why Trump is going at China. Plus, Trump is not forgetting what China did to the United States the last 4 years. How they embarrassed, yes, they were embarrassing Joe Biden, but Trump is still an American. And he saw how they treated Joe Biden, the air balloons, because when they treated Joe Biden like that, they treated all of us Americans like that and every single American citizen. Remember when, I believe it was in 2021 or 2022, Joe Biden's team flew to Alaska to meet a delegation from China. They were going to do some kind of business together on extracting crude oil. In Japan, in China, the delegation were just like these weak lowlifes, like people that are not really in charge, didn't know what they're doing. And even still, they rebuked Joe Biden, his administration, the United States, got up, embarrassed America, and walked out on American soil. Trump remembers that. He remembers how they humiliated America, took advantage of America. He remembers everything. He remembers COVID. He remembers the 2020 election. He remembers everything. He remembers how they threatened Nancy Pelosi when she flew to Taiwan. I don't like Nancy Pelosi. I really don't. But if you're another country, don't ever threaten American politicians, whether I like them or despise them. You don't do that. Even I said when Nancy Pelosi was flying to Taiwan, if you guys were watching me back then, I said she better fly now because they threatened to shoot down her plane. And she was speaker at that time. You're going to threaten America's Speaker of the House? I don't care if the speaker is Democrat or Republican. Don't do that. And Trump remembers all that. He remembers how they humiliated us. Now he's going to humiliate them. And I love it. I'm here for their humiliation rituals. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. If you would like to be a channel member and support the channel that way also, because as you guys know, a lot of my stuff gets demonetized or doesn't get monetized at all because of straight white conservative male Christian. They don't like that. If you'd like to support, become a channel member. You won't regret it. It's down below. Just click join. God bless you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.